today, we're gonna focus on the first cartoon appearance of that legendary member of the X-Men, the X-Men known as Thunderbird, and we'll learn a little bit more about some of the other X-Men there too. So, alright, let's go!
Oh yeah! So we start off in the training facility of the X-Men, aka the Danger Room, and Spider-Man is allowed to give this room a little whirl. Seeing as it's his first time, they set the room to level 1, so it's just holograms, basic traps. It'll be child's play, right? Nope. Something is horribly wrong. The room is going haywire. There's live missiles flying at Spider-Man. Like, holy crap, man. He's in total danger. Which is kind of odd, right? Spider-Man having spider sense and super fast reflexes and all that kind of stuff. He suddenly has 2 left feet and is being defeated by a basic floor trap. What the hell? Turns out that the Danger Room computer, Cerebro, has set the room to level 7. So Firestar and Cyclops have to save old Webhead. But it turns out that Cerebro has been hacked by some cyborgish type of human named Cyberiad. And he wants revenge on one of the X-Men, and that one X-Men should know who Cyberiad is. Who could it be? I guess we'll never know because no one's speaking up. So, Professor Xavier needs to use his brain powers to determine that the X-Man in question is Firestar. So let's take a quick little tiptoe through the time tulips to find out why. So back in the day, Firestar used to date Cyberiad when he was fully human. You see, he was a college professor and a physicist named Nathan Price. And she was one of his young college students, which, oh my god, I hope this is legal. During one of Nathan's highfalutin experiments about something or other, members of the technological terrorist group called A.I.M broke into his lab and sabotaged his experiment, causing explosions and all sorts of things, and permanently damaging and scarring Nathan in the process. To which Nathan blamed Firestar for the whole thing, because why would you blame technological terrorists when you can, blame a young college woman, right? Jerk. Back to the future, we learn that Cyberiad is hiding in the attic of the mansion, but unfortunately, everybody is in the sub-basement. To get to the top there, man, they have to go through every single freaking trap in the mansion which Cyberiad has control over. If that was not bad enough, Cyberiad is overloading Cerebro, so Cerebro will explode in precisely 2 hours. Holy jeez, Spider-Man, you just should have stayed home, man. So everyone decides to split up into 3 teams. Sprite, Colossus, and Storm will take the main stairways. Cyclops, Thunderbird, and Iceman will take the back way, which I don't know what that means. And Spider-Man, Firestar, and Xavier will take the main elevator. Which, my god, man, I would not want to be part of that team. For one, Firestar is the main target, right? You're hanging out with her inside an enclosed box. And 2, the elevator is controlled by the computers, which is controlled by Cyberiad. So seeing as Nightcrawler has already been captured, Cyberiad uses a hologram of Nightcrawler to trick other X-Men to enter these other rooms of the mansion. And it turns out all these rooms are designed to either counteract the powers of, the X-Men, or to feature someone's greatest fears, or to flat out kill them. And even though the X-Men escape all of these rooms that they're in, you're telling me that every single room in this place is designed to potentially kill someone? Not one room in the entire mansion is actually designed for relaxation? Really? Man, I would hate to use the bathroom there on Taco Tuesday, right? I'd be battling the toilet in more ways than one. Meanwhile, the team finally makes it to the top level, but in order to get to the attic, they have to go through the Maze of Madness. The what? Why the hell would you build this, you crazy bald man? It's like going into the Danger Room, but also having a bad acid trip at the same time. It has different gravities in there, all these random holograms designed to make you go fully insane, and thusly, everybody gets captured by Cyberiad, except for Firestar. where she learns that Siberiad was actually never in the mansion, it was just his hologram. He is actually in his ship above the mansion. So Firestar breaks into his ship, confronts him, and, kills him? Holy crap! Like, Siberiad is out cold, but when he was losing consciousness, Firestar said, you can rest now. Holy crap, that is dark! Please tell me it's just a coma. Please tell me it's just a coma. Please tell me it's just a coma. But I guess we'll never know. But on the bright side, the threat is neutralized and the X-Mansion was saved from blowing up, so all is good, I guess. And with that is the end of this series, Uncanny Tale.
So, yes indeed, man. That was actually a pretty awesome episode. The story was pretty solid, right? It made sense all the way through, even though it is a little terrifying to realize that the X-Mansion is basically a house of horrors. There is nowhere to run because every room will destroy you. Even if you're just going to the kitchen to make yourself some lunch, man, you never know what's gonna happen. But that is the training philosophy of Professor Xavier. You never know when danger may appear and in what form, so be ready. Firestar was ready because this episode is a Firestar episode, right? At the beginning of it, she failed her test in the danger room, but by the end of the story, she kind of learned her mistakes from that and saved the day. So it was really good to see these little character arcs, even if it's a 20-minute story. But this story is one of those lesser classic story tropes, where the hero creates a problem that they have to solve later. Even though it wasn't Firestar's fault what happened to Nathan there, right? But still, she gets the blame. Kind of like how in the MCU, everything Tony Stark touches kind of, turns out to be a future problem. It happens, right? One thing I didn't really touch on in the episode was that, Nathan's human half and his Cyber-Aid robot half were kind of having a conflict throughout the whole episode. The Cyber-Aid wanted to destroy, but the Nathan side wanted to, protect and stuff like that. So not only was the story cyborg versus other people, it was also a cyborg versus himself. Something we can all learn from, yes.
And I do gotta say, right, Siberiad's plan was actually pretty good. Somewhat simple and to the point. Take over the X-Mansion's computers, use the X-Men's own weapons to neutralize them, trap them in the mansion, and then blow the mansion up. And it almost worked.
But like I say, man, it's a pretty awesome episode. For realsies, I am a pretty big fan of the X-Men, so to see them in any capacity is always pretty good, especially some of these newer characters that are getting their first foray in the cartoon world. But with that, there is more to discuss about this cartoon over here.
So, yes indeedly, this episode was the first appearance of Thunderbird, also known as James Proudstar, who is an Apache from Arizona. And for his code name, Thunderbird, well, a Thunderbird in North American indigenous culture is a supernatural being of strength and power, and really for the X-Man Thunderbird, strength and power, yeah man, that's exactly what he is. So Thunderbird, in this cartoon is slightly different than his comic book counterpart. So in the comic books, his powers is basically super muscles. It gives him super strength, it gives him enhanced speed, enhanced stamina. He looks massive and intimidating. Also, his senses are heightened as well, so he can hunt and track people. Maybe not as good as Wolverine, but I'm not gonna tell that to Thunderbird's face. That's the extent of his powers, which is, a pretty awesome power set. But in this episode, he has the power to physically transform into a bear and presumably other creatures as well. In my research on this episode and this character, from what I've read anyway, is that they suggest that Thunderbird can transform into any animal that lives in North America. No kangaroos for you, kind sir. But, how does that work, right? Considering at one point in history, all the land masses were clumped together called Pangea, and now you can only mimic animals that live on one tectonic plate? How does your mutation know that? Unless those are just the only animals that he's seen that he can change into. Maybe he could change into a kangaroo. But realistically, like, I don't think his powers in this cartoon are actually mutant abilities. Before he changed into a bear, he did call upon the great spirit of the bear, so I think his powers are less mutant powers and more so spiritual-based connections. Nonetheless, in the comics, that is not Thunderbird's power. That would actually be the powers of a character called Snowbird, who is a proud member of Alpha Flight. Oh, Canada! For the rest of the newer X-Men that we see in this episode, which would be Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Sprite, well, you know, they technically made their first cartoon appearance in the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends episode called The Education of a Superhero, which was actually 4 episodes prior to this X-Men Adventure one, yeah. But the funny thing is in Education of a Superhero, those new X-Men only showed up for like literally 5 seconds, right? They had absolutely nothing to do with the story, with the episode, with anything. Like, they just stood there, right? So you knew what they looked like, and you knew that they were part of the X-Men, but you know, that's it. You don't know their name, you don't know their powers, nothing. So yeah, like, I guess that, you know, was their first cartoon appearance, but really it was just like a minor cameo, right? Like a cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. This episode, however, was the first time we actually seen those characters, like, do their stuff. We learned their names and all that kind of stuff. So this was really their welcome to the cartoon world kind of episode for them, right? The funny thing is that in the episode Education of a Superhero, they introduced a brand new character named Video Man, and he joined the X-Men at the end of that episode, you know, when you've seen the new X-Men. And you might think, you know, if this guy joined the X-Men and it's only 4 episodes later, like, he should be there, you know, at some capacity, still as a trainee or something. But no, man, they totally disregard this guy. Maybe he dropped out or something, I don't know. It would have been nice to see him, you know, for continuity's sake and all that kind of stuff. So for the comics, Thunderbird, along with Nightcrawler and Colossus, first appeared in Giant Size X-Men #1 in 1975. Which was like a freaking amazing kind of comic book issue, right? Like, you really expanded the X-Men. They found mutants from literally every corner of the earth, including Wolverine, you know, being like a couple hours north from where I live, so that's pretty sweet. And for the villain, Cyberiad, he did not come from the comics. He was actually created for this episode, and I don't think we've ever seen him since, so yeah, one and done. Well, you know, he didn't come from Marvel Comics, but in DC Comics, there is a character named Tharok from the Fatal Five, featured in the Legion of Superheroes, and yeah, you know, just a slight bit of similarity between the two characters. Visually there, but a different character altogether. One last little note, I did mention that the technological terrorists that attacked Nathan in his laboratory were from the group called A.I.M, which is an acronym for Advanced Idea Mechanics, even though in a cartoon it was not specifically specified that those characters were from A.I.M. The look of their suits, especially their kind of headgear and all that kind of stuff, indeed, man, that's definitely A.I.M. So that would mean that this is actually A.I.M.'s first cartoon debut. And that's all you gotta know about them. They're technological terrorists, a scientific think tank that teamed up with the likes of Hydra and other peoples. And they first appeared in Strange Tales number 146 in 1966. Pretty dangerous, those A.I.M. guys there. So this episode was actually a backdoor pilot episode, meaning it was a concept for a new show, which would be an X-Men show, but they used the pilot within an existing show that already had like a budget, writers, animators, and all that kind of stuff, so they saved a whole lot of money on a pilot. And that's why Spider-Man wasn't really featured, you know, in the episode a whole lot, even though it's his freaking show. But unfortunately, you know, NBC, they were thinking about it, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do a mutant show. That's fine. We're good with Spider-Man and stuff like that. There was another X-Men pilot that was actually a full-fledged pilot in 1989 called Pride of the X-Men, and it was freaking fantastic, right? Like, the animation was like top-notch. It was a pretty decent story, and it could have been picked up if Marvel Comics, didn't have severe financial problems at that time and pulled the plug on everything that was non-comic book. The X-Men finally did get their own cartoon show in 1992 called X-Men, the Animated Series. So, like, better late than never, eh? So this episode was the fourth and final appearance of the X-Men as a team in this series. Of course, outside of Iceman and Firestar. And we've seen a lot of changes with the team, new members and all that kind of stuff. So, actually it followed the X-Men kind of history decently well, for what it could do. But, that's pretty much all I got for everything pertaining to this episode up to this point in the comic book history and all that kind of stuff. We can get to the other X-Men stuff with the other cartoons, so yeah, we'll do that. But yes, with the this, that, those, and the other things, I guess there is that. Yeah! Also, if you guys are interested, I created my own superhero show and I have the first episode out already. The Adventures of the Density. So if you guys would like to check it out, I'll have a link above here and a link at the end of the video for you to peruse there. Yeah, right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.